All right.
Those
Hi,
are popping up.
everyone. Now,
Hello,
but
hello.
I believe it's a good time now to put Lisa, me, and Daria on the spotlight. While Alex is doing that, I will give a quick introduction. And I'm so glad to see so many familiar faces. And Kevin, it's been a while. Glad to see you. I always like being some random person, but yeah, I see so many familiar faces. Davy, all right. Glad to see you guys. And it's what, June, almost July. And welcome to Wed Vibes live session. And that session will be one of the most anticipated by us because Lisa, you will not let me to lie. We've been talking about this for almost a year.
Yeah.
And I'm very excited to have you with us today, the founder of the most known and established wedding talent agency, the Wedding Artist and Co, Lisa Ashley. She will be joining us today. And finally, you guys can find answers to so many questions about the back end of the talent agency, how to prepare yourself to work with talent agency, and how to look attractive. And right now, and Daria and I will always speak about that, it feels like the talent agency in the wedding industry on the rise. But Lisa is the best person to talk about this topic because I believe you've been in the industry for more than
For
many,
15 years.
yeah,
I
more
agree.
than any of wedding
Yeah.
professionals. So we're grateful that you invested your time and your brains into this session today. And before we will dive in, I will ask you guys, as a tradition, to put in the chat your name, your location, and where you're joining from, because we always take a pride that we united already and that we build an amazing community of wedding professionals worldwide. Pretty much, Lisa, what you've done. And please show the mission in action. Tell us where you joining from, because usually it's a very extensive set of countries from Europe, from Mexico, from the United States, Canada, Australia, and of course our Australian friends. I know that you will watch the recording, so special hi to you guys. And yes, so while you are posting
Hello, hello,
your
hello,
name,
everyone.
and
Yeah.
like also give a chance to listen to see you and the audience she will be speaking to today, I always encourage you to take advantage of this session, meaning being present and comment, share insights in the chat, put the chat on fire. Because again, Daria and I, we do our marketing calls, and I believe every second professional asks us about how to work with a talent agency, or I really want to work with a talent agency. And this is a day when you can get insights about that. And Daria, I think that now
Yeah.
I will let you to give a right introduction to Lisa, and we can start.
And we can start our interview. Yes, hello, hello, everyone. And thank you, Lisa, for finding that time and joining us. As Alina mentioned, you're the pioneer, let's say, of this new wave, like in the whole industry. And yes, once again, Lisa is the founder and curator of the Wedding Artists Collaborative. I think this is like the full name, right? Boutique agency she's led for 15 years, and she will explain more of like how they operate, but she basically manages like the day-to-day operations of a roster of celebrated photographers. I believe I saw some of them actually here, photographers and filmmakers like Norman and Blake, Kristen Marie Parker, Eric McVeigh, Heather Baraksa, all the renowned creatives you know and love. And she's freeing them basically to focus on their craft, creating the beautiful, timeless imagery and video. And we believe that Lisa's role is vital. Like she fills the vital gap in a wedding industry. She's offering dedicated representations to visual artists, and she elevates also the client's experience. And today we're going to discuss what does she do, like what does it mean to be a representative for the creatives, how to get noticed, and why you need one as an artist. So thank you once again, Lisa, to joining us and yeah, agreeing to answer all of our questions.
Yeah, thank you for having me. And by the way, I'm not looking at the chat because I don't want to know who's here.
All
I think
right.
it might make me a little nervous, especially some of my
We're not gonna, yes.
Okay, I will
yeah,
I will read it
reveal
out
it. We're not
loud.
gonna
We have
reveal
people
it. Yeah.
from Napa, California, from
I've
Los
seen
Angeles,
people popping up. Yeah, Toronto and
yeah,
Oregon and whatnot. But no,
yeah.
thank you very much for having me. And that's quite the intro. I don't see myself as a pioneer. I just see myself as somebody who had an idea about 15 years ago, and I've just been kind of plugging away. But now that other agencies are popping up, it's like, you know, I was kind of wondering when it would happen. I've been kind of waiting for it to happen, and now it's actually happening. So it's
Yeah.
kind of an interesting time for the industry. It's exciting.
Yeah,
That's a great
absolutely.
time.
So basically, yeah. So let's start with the first question, because yes, right now this one, like this, let's say profession, like this wave is on the rise. But how you come up with this idea 15 years ago? Like what led you to this? Yeah.
I mean, it was a really organic process. I was repping commercial photographers for an agency in New York, and one of those photographers had an assistant who I got to know, and he had graduated from SCAD, which is Savannah College of Art and Design, and he was an amazing photographer, and he shot a lot of musicians, a lot of things, a lot of documentary stuff. And then he started showing me some weddings that he shot, and I thought they were amazing. They were really creative. They were all his friends who he had gone to school with. So it was like at the height, they basically created DIY. They worked for Anthropologie at the time. So I think him and his friends, like they were just kind of onto something early, and I thought it was interesting. So I just expressed interest in what he was up to, and he admitted that he really loved photographing weddings. He thought there was some creative room for, you know, there was some room for creativity, and he enjoyed that process, but he really hated all the back and forth with contracts, keeping inquiries straight, managing a calendar, all that kind of stuff. And that was definitely something was very much in my wheelhouse, since I've been doing that for commercial photographers already, and negotiating fees or just thinking about pricing, you know, contracts, all that kind of stuff. It was already like what I did. So yeah, I just said, hey, why don't we put your work on a website? Just start sending inquiries my way. I'll handle this part for you. I'll take a little bit of commission. You get to do the part you like. I'll do the part that I'm good at. And that was how it was born. And then through him, I just met some other people. He recommended some friends of his, and it was just a very, very, very slow organic process. And this is, you know, I didn't know anything. I didn't know anything about weddings. We were really learning together because he didn't know a lot about weddings. So it's just a very organic process of growing together and slowly building it out. And here we are about 15 years later.
Yeah, here
That's
you are.
interesting. So what was, let's say, the first talent that joined you and you still work with, I wonder?
I think, you know, I was actually trying to think of that the other day. It's either Shannon Norman, who's now with Emily, so they're Norman and Blake, or it's Roe of Leilu. And I was trying to dig and look at our old contracts, and I filed old contracts away somewhere like a while ago. And I'm like, where are those things? So I can't tell you, but I think it's one of those two. A close second would be Sam Blake and Sassaton, Heather were Oxa, and Kana family, the videography team. Yeah.
That's a great journey. So I think I believe you have so many stories, because there is always a duo of talent and someone who covers there and like
Handles
helps
the
talent
business
to
part.
grow. So
Yeah.
it's exactly like in the Hollywood industry where we actually live right now at Sunset Strip. So very similar. All right. So the next question is pretty much the most popular question that we receive. And I will just start with this one. So what, like within these 15 years, and you told that you had little experience of weddings, and you like pretty much learned with your experience, met people, but how you made decisions of the talent you want to work with, how it was 15 years ago, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, and now, did it change somehow? Is there
It's changed.
So tell us more about your process.
Yeah, well, when I was first starting out, they were first starting out, you know, I wasn't looking to represent, actually, I did represent a pretty well-known photographer. I'm not going to say who he is now, but we're friendly and it's great. It's everything. But like, he was like a little too far ahead of me and where I was. I was just starting learning about the wedding industry, and he'd already been working in the wedding industry and making a name for himself for quite a while. And so I started repping him, and I realized like, I don't actually know what I'm doing yet. Like, I can't really help him. I felt like he was helping me more than anything. And so that didn't work out. And that was just a timing thing. It had nothing to do with our respect for each other or anything like that. It just, the timing was wrong at that point. So in the beginning, I was looking for people who, which is still true. I mean, the common denominator is I'm looking for people who I like, who are kind, who work hard, who are interested in just doing a really good job, who people have a rapport with, people who are just, they don't have big egos. It's not about them, it's about the client. So very client driven. It's always been about that for me. And in the beginning, I wasn't looking for big names necessarily. It was just people who I felt shared that common value and that we could work and grow together. As the years have gone on, now within the collective, I would say I am looking for people who have a lot of experience, who have worked with a lot of planners, who have a good reputation. It's, you know, I'm not looking, I want to work with people who I can kind of develop and play with a little bit, like we can kind of grow together. So it's not like somebody has to be fully formed, but I do think they have to have like a certain amount of experience at this point in order for me to truly think it's a good fit for us to work together.
But how can you guide us through the process? Like if you are, for example, on the lookout right now of a new talent, like who you will represent, how does it start? It starts from the Instagram if you like some
Honestly,
work, or yeah.
no, honestly, I think the biggest factor that's made the collective successful is that I have really looked to my artists and I've asked them like, who's out there? Who do you like? Who do you respect? Who would you be proud to be next to within the collective?
Mm-hmm.
So there's a little bit, and that's kind of helped to make it feel like a family. Like there's a little bit of a connection, like a little bit of a weave between everybody. So I know this isn't going to be super helpful to people if they aren't, you know, friends with any of the collective, but I would say like those have been the most successful, longest lasting partnerships, I think, is when there has been some organic process of getting to know somebody. Usually they reach, you know, I don't know. There's one artist who kind of came out of the blue that his email was just so beautifully written and he was just so, I don't know. I just loved his approach. And he's kind of the first person who I think I was like, oh, I want to talk to you, even though nobody within the collective had like kind of put him forward. That was the first time that really worked. And it took me a long time to sign on with him because I was like, I just need to know more. Like I needed to know as much about him as possible. And for me, it's like, what are your like common values? Like, what are your religious beliefs? What are your political beliefs? What are your, like, what keeps you up at night? What do you want for your family? What do you want for the world? Like, it's all of those things. I really feel like I kind of have to have something that goes deeper and there's a bigger relationship there for me. And of course, it's about the work. Of course, it's about the reputation in the industry. It's all of those things, but if I don't feel a personal connection with the artist, it doesn't, it hasn't worked well. And I've learned that over the years. It took me a while to realize that that's important for me. And I don't know if that's important for every agent. I can't speak to how other agents think about their roster, but for me, it's been important for it to feel kind of like a family.
And the question about red flags. Do you have any?
I mean,
I just don't feel that we are connected.
I think for me, everybody is so different in this department, but for me, I would say I really want to work with people who are focused on the work and less about building up their name or their brand, which honestly makes even doing an interview like this a little bit just to get meta for a second. Like I even feel a little uncomfortable doing these kinds of things because I never want it to be about me. I want it to be about the work. It always gets back to the work, but of course it's my job to promote the artists and to promote myself and the company and all that stuff. But like, I almost do this stuff as more of like I feel like I should, but I feel like there's a healthy balance of doing some of it. So I think red flags for me would be somebody who's like wanting to make it too much about them and less about the work.
Yep, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So the first insight actually I received, like people actually can reach out to you. It's not necessarily to be like on the lookout of a email from you, so they can actually suggest themselves, and the power of community. Because
Yeah.
if your photographers, like you said, your family, the collective, if they like saw someone, maybe they heard about someone, met someone on a conference, whatever, it's also the power of community. They can recommend their own peer.
Yeah, I would say that's the biggest. And I also just want to say for the record, I'm really not looking to build up the collective right now. There's somebody who I'm talking to maybe about video, but I have 12 artists and I'm really at the point where I do want to keep my relationship with the artists strong and I want to be available to them all the time. I mean, I'm on the phone or connecting all the time throughout the week. So it's been important for me as an agent to have that strong connection with each artist. Every agency is different. So I definitely can't speak for everybody, but for me, that's been how it's felt the most
Yeah.
comfortable. Kind of keep it small so I can have a personal relationship with everybody. But yes, of course, like if you have a lot of experience and you think you'd be a great fit, I always like to hear from people because I'm curious to know who's out there. So I always enjoy the interaction, like regardless. And it is good to like kind of have someone on your radar and kind of just know who they are. So I definitely do like to hear from artists. I guess I just want to set expectations that I'm not really.
That's very honest. I mean, we are Russians, we are blunt. So yes, Lisa is not on the lookout. She's not scouting for talents, but you can take a liberty and email her, but don't expect that she will reply. Probably
I
she
always
will, if
reply.
it
Oh,
will
no,
be
no, no, no.
creative.
I
She always replies.
always reply.
Okay.
I
All right, that's a good thing.
I reply to everybody. Everybody deserves a reply. Everybody. And I know how hard it is in this industry to feel like you're just sort of floating out in space and to really crave that connection and recognition and the visibility and all of that. And everybody deserves a reply. And I genuinely am always happy to hear from artists and to know who's out there. Because things do change. I mean, this is
Yep.
not a stagnant situation. Things are flexible. So I don't want to say never. I'm just trying to set expectations. If that makes sense.
So then the second question, I want to flip a bit the question about how you choose the talent. I want to step into the talent shoes. And also, again, there are a lot of other agencies that popping up right now, which is good. So from the talent perspective, when do you think it's a good time to start thinking about the talent agent?
Well, I think that here we run into a little bit of a problem because I don't know how other agents are working or what they're looking for, and what their promise is to their artists. So for me, when an artist has been working for quite some time in the industry, they already have plenty of bookings coming their way, right? They already have this like solid foundation in their business, but they're starting to look for somebody to help take a little bit of the workload off of them so they can really focus on the creative aspect of their business. I think that's a really good time for them to start looking for an agent. When somebody is looking to start fine-tuning what they're offering, what they're putting out into the world, what they're projecting, the kind of clients that they're attracting, I think that's a really good time to start looking for an agent. When you're starting to feel like, I think I could raise my pricing, I just don't have the confidence to do it, or I just really need somebody else to kind of help shape that and start working toward a goal, that's a really good time. I don't think it's a good time if you haven't put in, I don't want to put a number on it, but at least 5 years, of being in the industry. I think if you're looking for, I don't think it's if you're not getting, I don't know, to me, it's like you should be booking a lot. And then it's a matter of like figuring out how to fine tune what you're doing and getting more of the kind of weddings that you want and honing in your ideal client. I think that's the good time. But if you're just doing it just to get referrals, I'm not sure if it's the right, that's not really how my business, I don't promise people, I'm going to give you more work. It's more of like, I will give you more work. We are going to get inquiries that you probably would not have gotten otherwise, because I do have planners coming to me looking for talent, looking for people, someone new to work with that haven't worked with before, or they're just coming and asking, who's available on such and such date. And I have the opportunity to put people forward. So they will get all of those things. But the promise is really more about being a business partner and helping somebody achieve their goals, and shaping things in a more coherent and directed way.
So
I don't know if anything that I just said makes sense. I really hope
it
It
may,
does.
I
It does.
can
Yeah.
summarize it. Maybe Daria will build on.
Mhm.
So first of all, it's kind of experience,
Yeah.
right? Some established brand, established professional. That's number one. Second is demanded. It's not the photographer who've been in the industry like X amount of years and still struggling. It's the photographer or videographer, the talent, who within this amount of years in the industry grew and achieved some kind of success.
Yep.
Business-wise, talent-wise. That's number two. Of course, number three, it's like portfolio.
Yeah.
Much connected to the, again, amount of the years in industry, but you already worked in many projects. So that's number three. And what else? Demand.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like
Yeah.
for me, how I understand it, and like Lisa said, it's not about the matter of getting more clients. It's more like I'm on this stage of business that I have to grow, but I have to have like either the confidence of like doing this, like raising the prices, or having more time and energy for the artistry. And because we know like how many artists are actually burned out because they have to manage so many things. And this is basically the new stage of my business, meaning like, yes, I'm moving forward, I'm elevating my brand, and right now I'm focusing more on this, and I'm willing to give you some part of my money so you will manage
We can grow together.
my
So
business.
it's about
Yeah.
what you've done and what you want to achieve. And
Yeah.
if you need a partner for that, that's great. So if you won't mind, Lisa, like let's dive for those who don't really understand it. What exactly talent agent, of course, you're not speaking about about your specific case, covers. So
Yeah.
what kind of job?
Yeah, what does your role includes?
So I'm handling every inquiry that comes in. I have the full view of everyone's calendar, so I know what their year looks like. So I'm handling the initial conversation about availability and pricing. I'm answering any questions that can kind of come along with that. If the artist is a serious contender for somebody, I help to organize the call. And then if we need to fine tune proposals or whatever, I'm doing that. And then if the client wants to move forward, I submit the contract and then I answer any questions about the contract and I handle the invoicing. So I'm tracking down payments, asking, helping get through the contract phase. And that's the majority of the front end. And this is just the day-to-day stuff, like the nuts and bolts. And then after the wedding, if it's if it's a wedding that we think would make it for a submission, I handle all the submission conversation with the client and handle the submission with the publication. So it's a little bit of the front end, a little bit of the back end. And then from there, it's fine tuning what we're showing in their portfolio or doing collaborations on Instagram or helping to promote their work there. I probably host maybe one fam trip a year. I host a party a year maybe. So it's kind of helping to connect some of the artists with certain planners and like develop deeper relationships with those people. And just kind of helping to be that connector for people within the industry. So I really love that part of it, throwing the parties and doing all the things. And yeah, I think that's pretty much what I'm doing for the artists. Yeah. I don't know if that sounds like a lot or a little, but
It's actually, it sounds a lot.
It sounds a
It's
lot.
like
Yeah.
a
And
lot.
when
Yeah.
you say the client, you mean both planners and the end client, or it's the couple?
you know what? I mean, it can be both, right? Most of our work I consider the planner a client just as much as anything. I'd say 70% of our inquiries come directly from planners. And obviously we have every interest in the world to treat them like our client, and they really are in a lot of ways. So when I say client, it can kind of be interchangeable. But brides or grooms or planners.
So it's operational stuff, meaning like all the communication. It's the proposal. It's more like, so you basically create proposal for all your photographers, right? That you adjust them
But
to
I'm
the
not like getting like certificates of insurance. I'm not
Okay.
anyone's studio manager. Like I'm not doing their like day-to-day office management. It's more of the
Mhm.
client interfacing interactions that they know they can trust me with to mother a project through from start to finish.
Yeah. And plus PR, meaning that whenever the project is finished, you make sure that it will see the light
Yes.
in the
Which has
right
become
way.
a much bigger part of my job than it was even just 5 or 6 years ago. I feel like everybody wants
Yes, this is exactly what's
everybody
kind of
wants
my
to be a
follow-up.
teacher now. Yeah, so there's
Yeah, follow-up question.
a
Mhm.
lot of post-production, for everybody. I'm sure anybody on this call would recognize that that has really become a much bigger piece to the puzzle, is the post-production.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, can you elaborate a little bit about the power of PR and how to maybe you would like what kind of tips do you have for photographers, videographers, or anyone else to get like published?
I
Understanding,
mean,
yeah.
I think, um, you know, I obviously, it has to start with a great wedding, like, it has to start there, right? So I think even before that, you just really have to think about what you're putting out via your portfolio and your Instagram, the kind of relationships you're building and what kind of creative, which weddings you're taking on and which ones you're showing. So I think you really have to start with attracting the right clients. They're going to be, they're going to have submission worthy weddings or whatever.
Mhm.
And then from there, I think it's really fine tuning which outlets you think are realistic for that couple. Like really get to
Mhm.
know which outlets feature certain kinds of weddings, like which ones will be a better fit. So you can focus your energy there. And I think creating tight edits, it's all about the editing process, like trim away the fat, an image that might mean a lot to you might not be part of the story of the wedding. So if you're submitting, like really
Mhm.
hone it down to like 100 of the absolute best photos, maybe 150, but like really narrow it down. Figure out what the angle is. And this is all stuff that would much better be answered by Heather Hall Galley, who works with me. She has an agency called 8 Days a Week, and she's been my
Mhm.
PR submissions guru. And she and I work very closely with each other. And thank God I have her because she's been huge. So she really knows all the editors. She knows all the what they're looking for, how
And
to
knows us.
each person. What's
Yeah,
that?
and she's here actually.
Hi.
Hi, Heather.
Hi, Heather. You see, it's a great
Shout out to
recognition for
Heather.
you.
Bless her
Yeah.
heart. I really do feel like she's been in the same way that the artists have like brought me on to sort of like take their business to a next level. I really feel like she's helped me take mine to a next level. Like she's been such a huge component. So I think in general, it's just about finding people that you can really resonate with on a personal level. You have the same vision. You have people who are a little bit smarter than you in like certain areas or have better, skills or talent or whatever, and just recognize where your limitations end, right? Or where you want to focus your energy. I have to be focused on the relationships and the daily communication with the clients. I have to make sure planners feel taken care of or brides and grooms feel taken care of.
Yeah.
But I also have to make sure that my artist work is getting out there into the world. So you have to just like call it for what it is. Like, do you have time to do everything? No. And if you
No.
do, you're going to get burnt out. So you have to look for other people to take the things that you can confidently pass off to. It's all about trust. You have to have people you trust. And then once you do, you confidently give that to them to manage. So
Yeah, absolutely, and that's why we love like once again like all the creative agencies, talent agencies. We recently, I think, I just signed up on Heather's new account, the 8 Days Week. She
yeah.
just, I believe, launched it. We all definitely immediately started to follow her because we do understand. I love that today, whenever we like ask someone, a photographer, about like the feature, like, oh, this is a great series, like gallery, can we publish it? They will immediately refer us to their point of contact because they don't handle it anymore. And I love it for the industry, meaning that yes, they can concentrate more once again on the client and on the whole experience, because it's a huge deal to like come on a wedding and work for like 10-12 hours and create the art,
Yeah.
and for someone else to actually handle it, because the creatives never have time and energy to do the post-production.
Definitely. Definitely. Yeah, and then actually, like, I think normalizing that, like having somebody that you just go and talk to get the stuff, like get the thing, like if you have more PR firms out there, they know it's just easier to have a conversation with someone who knows what they're doing. Like when I
Yep.
remodeled our bathroom, I felt so bad for like our contractor because I had never designed anything. I have good taste. I know what I like, but like it's so much easier for them to like to talk directly with a designer, right? And here they're talking to
Yeah.
me as a novice for the first time who doesn't really know what I'm doing. And so I think it just kind of applies to all things. Like it's just easier to have that shorthand conversation from someone like who does PR, nothing but PR all day long, an agent, like all I'm doing is contracts all day long and handling, putting proposals together. So yeah, having more support networks out there in general, I think is it's good.
So
Yep.
my question goes next to the partnership with the talents, right? I actually have two questions in one. First, that we haven't mentioned the way you make a decision of like what kind of artist to work with or like how to be ready. It's a personal brand. I think we didn't say it, but it's also a big part of, let's say, if you establish professional, probably you have a strong personal brand or like your brand in the industry. So question here for you. Do you kind of recommend or strategize together with the talent the personal brand development, meaning like what kind of content they put out there, how they position themselves, or it's like out of your scope? Or you can give some advice, like,
You
because
mean branding, like their logo and their like website and like branding?
Mm-hmm.
it's
Um,
even the
I
content
mean,
they create,
even the
like the
content, how
positioning.
they show up, maybe like
yeah,
visually.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, so I will say this, like some of my artists, like, I mean, we don't even like, they just know exactly what they have such a good
All
sense of
right, they already established.
they're like, they don't need me for that department.
Okay.
They're like, I know my vision. They're very clear creatively um on the editing process and making sure that everything is tying back to what they want. And then some photographers, I think, do want more of that feedback. They're like, is this saying the right thing? So, oh, we definitely, I mean, I've had many sessions with many of the artists where we're talking about like, this image is beautiful, but is it really like attracting the client that you want? And I think it always comes back to like literally writing out a paragraph, like who is your client? Where do they shop? What do they do on the weekends? Where do they vacation? What are their what do they do for a living? Like thinking about like who is your ideal client, and it's going to look different for different people. And so figuring out who your ideal client is, and literally every time you post something to Instagram, to your website, it's like, is this speaking to that bride or groom? When I say client here, I am talking about the bride or the groom, not
Yeah, I see the end, the end client, not like the middleman.
yeah.
So that's great. Actually, that's a great point. So you do have to gather this like strategic sessions when you like go to the like mood board or whatever and create the avatar, how you call it, of the ideal client. Once you figure out who the ideal client, you or like the talent curates the narrative in terms of portfolio, pictures, and how they show up to appeal to the target client, right? So you do it together as soon as they ask you for that. That's my first question. Second question, because you already touched that. Speaking of projects to take, let's say you work with established, well-known talents, and they usually don't take a lot of projects. It's, I don't know, like 10, 15, not many. So do you help them to make a decision, take the project or not take the project, or like what
Yeah, we talk about it.
mission? Yeah.
Talk about it. Sometimes it's very clear. Sometimes I just know right off the bat. It's just not, if a planner is asking me who's the right fit for a certain project, I already know who's going to be interested and who isn't. So yeah, there's a little bit of discussion there about which jobs to really go for and which ones to just, say you're busy or decline or
So, yeah, so you
whatever.
support in that because I believe it's also a big part of decision-making process. Like, shall I say yes or no? I think that it really makes a lot of sense in terms of understanding the reason why you're taking this project.
Yeah.
for the portfolio, for some other reasons, again, PR worthy or like so forth. So that's great to know
Yeah.
this part.
Mhm. Yeah, and I actually wanted to circle back on proposal stuff, because this is one of the most important things. And so many great like photographers like Katie Mary, they talk a lot about like forget about cookie cutter, do it a customize. I'm really curious about your take. Like, what would you recommend for the creatives to include in their proposal? How do you approach it?
Yeah, I think how we start everything is we just have a minimum. Every artist in the collective has their own version of their minimum. At the very least, it's 2 hours of rehearsal dinner and 10 hours of wedding day coverage. Usually that's with the second shooter. So let's just say that's your minimum. So when somebody comes to us, I can send them that pricing and say, this is what it costs to book them at minimum. And then from there we can build out. So I think as the job grows exponentially with, you know, the guest count or with the hours of coverage they need or the days of hours they need, the days of coverage they need, I just start building proposals off that. So it is customized, but you know, we've never been, I mean, I don't know what KT does, but I mean, I know of many photographers, especially back in the day where it was like, I want to get on a call with the client first and I want to find out like what they're having and then I'll send them a quote. No way. To me, that is such a giant waste of everybody's time because I mean, if you get on the call with the client, you spend an hour and then you find out they had $10,000, but your starting rates are $30,000. Like there was no way you guys were ever going to get to a good place, right?
Yeah.
So I personally feel like just simplifying the process for everybody as much as possible is helpful because nobody posts their pricing online, right? So everybody has to come to you to find out what it even costs to get in the door. And I would personally be very embarrassed if I spent an hour on the phone with a photographer only to get a quote for something that was literally 4 or 5 times my budget. It would just be not a good feeling. So, and again, I don't know what KT does, so I'm not speaking, I'm not saying that's what she does, but, yeah, so for me, that's how we do it. There's a little bit of a formula.
No, I think like from her perspective, it's more about like it's not necessarily about jumping on a call. It's more like customize it in terms of, do you attach any like previous galleries like portfolio that can speak to the
Oh,
client?
that's actually a wonderful I think that is such I would love to know more from planners about this because it is actually such a point of contention right now for me is sometimes you go through all this effort to create this PDF and like show all your best work and do this whole thing, only to come to find out that planner has never actually shown that PDF to their client. They just have like their own document they create with like a list of 4 or 5 photographers with some sample galleries and a bottom line number of what it costs. So I think it's actually a conversation for for planners. And what I've been doing recently is I always send them, we have a homepage that just has like 6 or 7 full galleries so people can just click open whatever they want to open. And of course, if there's a full gallery that we know would be a good fit for them, we'll send that too. But we just send basic pricing and the full galleries. And then I ask the planners, like, would you like this in a PDF for presentation purposes? Are you just looking for a bottom line? I give them a bottom line and then offer to put it into a PDF if they want that for the client. And that's just, maybe I'm doing it wrong, but that's how I've been doing it.
But
And
it works.
and
So
it's
you're
just
doing right.
so dependent by planner. Like some planners love those PDFs and some of them are annoyed by them because they have to actually open it up to find out what the price is, So I don't know. I don't have a good answer for that.
Yeah, but it's fair. Yeah.
But what the customization process where that does come into play for sure is knowing each planner. So I have certain planners, I know how they work. I know what they want. So I customize it to fit how they're going to want to present the numbers. And sometimes that means they don't want to see any travel line item. They just want the whole lump sum. Some planners want to see travel broken out. So that's where I think it is so wonderful when you really get to know some of your top planners that you work with a lot. So you can just make it so easy for them, customize it, and work to how they work.
Yep.
So
Yeah,
it's pretty much understanding your audience and how
because
to
planners are your
and
clients in this case. Yeah.
I have a small question. Do you feel like you make, from the planner perspective, working with you or like with an agent is simpler and easier than with a talent?
I mean, another question for a planner. I would like to think so. I've heard from planners, they love it because I get back to them super quickly with like a bunch of options. I can rapid fire, like get them information, where a lot of times with photographers directly, it takes them a while because they're traveling, they're shooting, they're working. Contracts. I've heard it can take a week to get a contract from a photographer sometimes. That for me is like, what? Like, no, contract within 12 hours or 24 at most. So I think planners like it. I think some planners don't. I think I've heard some planners who would rather just deal directly with the photographer, but I also think that might have been more a few years ago before the agency model really became understood. Because I think having a relationship directly with the artist is one thing, and then having a relationship with me can be its own relationship too. So that can be equally as easy and fulfilling and all those kind of things. So
yeah, I think I like this model. It's pretty much the commercial photography you came from, or like the movie industry or the music industry, when the talent is responsible for the talent and you're responsible for all kind of money.
This model is
Conversation. That's why you quicker come back. You don't feel awkward saying no because you're not speaking no for yourself. You're representing the client. So it becomes more business based rather than like emotional awkwardness. You just eliminate this unnecessary noise from the relationship and make real like process, streamlining the process. How
and I think a planner, if they have a question or feedback or something they need to be transparent about, it's always easier to be transparent with me than
exactly
with the artist, especially money talk. Like, no photographer on the planet, I don't think, wants to get on the phone with like the mom or the dad and talk about money. Like,
absolutely
no one.
And chase the
no one
client
wants to
like
do that. I don't even want to do
to
that.
have the
but I
payment
do.
done.
But
It's easier for me.
it's your role. So you can say, it's not me, it's my role. This is like
Yeah,
so
I
that
love
makes
it because
great.
back in the day, the few I'm sure you know about this, but like a few creatives actually, like I believe it was like 10 years ago or something, they told us, oh, can you hear me? Because
Yes, yes.
okay. I'm
Keep
sorry,
going.
I lost connection for a second. So they told us the story that they had to invent their like representative, creating like the new email for someone who will handle the business stuff for them. So they will still, in the eyes of the client, they will still be those like fairies basically who creates this art. And right now it's a reality that you can actually have this person. So we know that Lisa doesn't have like so much time and we have to let her go, and I see there like two short questions in a chat, and we can wrap it up. And so the question from Ashley: do you have any part in clients / contracts that organically find the photographer on your roster?
I'm just trying to understand. Do you have any part in clients' contracts that organically find the photographer on your roster?
I don't.
So Ashley, if you are with us, maybe you can just turn on your mic and say
clarify the question, because I right. Okay.
And
Like if they don't inquire with you. So if they have communication direct, so do you still have any part if the clients find them directly and
So
You can
all inquiries that come into the artist, they immediately loop me in and say, hey, thank you so much for your inquiry. I'd love to be a part of your wedding. I'm looping in Lisa from the Wedding Artist Collective.
Yeah.
Back to you with pricing and availability. So there's like a nice warm intro. And then, because, it's not about, if we try to figure out where the inquiry came from, all we would do all day long is trying to figure out how that client found us. And even if that client thinks they found that artist directly, who knows? It could have been through something I posted on Instagram and then they found the artist and then they went to their website. It would just burn us out. And that's not the point of what I do for the artists. Again, I'm not here to like bring them. It's not like, if you bring it to me, I'll give you this commission. But if you're just, it's like it's an all for one for all situation. And there are so many times where I have handled something for an artist like pro bono because of whatever reason, like I'm just there to help them with something. So it's like, I do stuff. We're not counting.
I think this is how it works. Actually, I will build on what Lisa said, because I'm also aware how the agent work in any industry. So if they represent artists, like regardless where inquiries come from, it comes to the talent manager. It's not about like this is a different channels of traffic, and no, it's like this is the person handles all my, I don't know, contracts and all my work. So it's for any
With that
industry.
said, for me, for the artists, if they have a side project or if they have a friend who's getting married, or if I don't need to be a part of everything. I really don't. But if it's a wedding, they just loop me in automatically. So.
Yeah. Like generally, most often in most cases, how they say in marketing, every case is unique, but most people more often. So this
Yeah.
is how they work. And another question is, besides Vogue and Brides, are there any publications online or print that you think are valuable for your artists?
Oh
And
my
that's
gosh.
weird. You're
Guys,
attending Wed Vibes
we could take
session.
an hour about publications. I'm sure everybody is just kind of at their wits' end right now about publications. So I think Over the Moon definitely has its place for certain kinds of weddings. You know, if it's a gaggle of bridesmaids wearing floral print dresses and it's like something beautiful in Nantucket, you know, for sure.
Yeah,
Like it's,
Over the Moon. Yeah.
So there's that. There's we've, you know, I think Friend Club can be a really good place for certain weddings. The Wed, the Lane, Who, What, Where, and L are two good ones if it's more of a celebrity-ish kind of wedding, someone who's a little bit of note. Everybody wants to be in Vogue right now, like literally everybody, which as we know is that's just a tough one. Like the client has to have a certain name for themselves in order for Vogue to be interested. And obviously like custom couture or like the fashion element has to be there. So that one's just tough. But, and then it's just the lead time. Unfortunately, the turnaround time is just getting crazy. I mean, we've had some weddings that's taken 24 months to get up. From time of acceptance. So the publication situation is like it's tough. It takes a lot of you kind of have to prepare yourself for the long game, I think, with publication, and just know it's going to take a while. And it generally is worth it. Like I think that brand recognition, like the slow build, is always great. And clients love it. Obviously, we have a responsibility to our planners who are looking for the wedding to get featured so they can get more work so we can work with them more. Like I think it is worth it. It's just it's such a long, it's a battle right now. I'm sure everybody here feels that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a long game. So yeah, we promised that we're gonna take 45 minutes of your
I
time.
can do 5 more minutes if there's
Okay.
some more questions.
Okay,
Yeah,
great. There's one more question. Is there a portfolio weakness you see in emergent talent that's holding them back from representation?
I mean, I don't know about representation specifically, but I would just say the biggest weakness, I think there's a couple. I think if somebody's just showing too many details and not enough life and energy, love, emotion, I think there's something really wrong there. I think you definitely have to show details for planners because it's extremely important for them that their work is photographed in a way that's going to be something they can use to promote themselves with. So you have that obligation. But I think the details are like the easiest thing to shoot. I think capturing that love and energy and the realness, the authenticity of a day is really important. So I think you have to find a nice blend of showing the high level details that are going to be that signal to planners. Like, yes, I know how to handle myself on an expensive wedding. You can trust me to shoot it, but also making sure you're taking care of mom and grandma and, you know, everybody who wants to see like the actual feeling from the day. So I would say that's the biggest weakness. And then the other is, I mean, everybody does it. It's like, it's just hard to find your voice, right? Like it's hard, especially right now in this sea of like, Instagram is just messing with everybody's heads, I think. And it's really unfortunate. I wish people had more time to just develop their work without feeling like all the eyes are on them, or there's this pressure to get featured, there's this pressure to have 1 million followers. So to me, it's a little bit of a shame that people can't just sort of work it out for themselves in private a little bit longer before they feel the pressure. But I think really trying to find like what creatively is interesting for you, like who are you as a photographer, and don't start, you know, it's very easy to chase trends subconsciously even, but I think trying to find your voice, and it can be a little obvious sometimes. I think when you look at certain portfolios that the person's just trying to kind of replicate what they see successful in other areas, you know.
Yep, this is a great point. Like, it once again showcases how many aspects you have to cover as a photographer or like the videographer, and like yes, having all the details photographed, like, and because like so many people are actually creating the pouring their heart into the wedding, and like they expect those images, and at the same time you have to like handle the emotions and capture it beautifully.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I believe that's it. Thank you so much, Lisa. This was
Thank you for having
amazing,
me.
super insightful session. It's time. Yes, it's time to send you thank yous
Oh,
to
that's
Yeah,
Lisa.
cool.
thank you.
Sorry
And
about everybody. Thanks for joining.
you
It was
replied
a
honestly
chat.
to
I was
so
very
many questions that we've been asked. And I believe everyone who joined today got so many answers and figure out your game plan of what kind of homework to do with your brand building to get ready. And when you finally get to the point to work with a talent agent, to what to expect.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, thank you, Lisa, again.
Thank you.
so
Thank
many
you.
compliments. Yes, fine in the chat. So helpful, so insightful. Thank you so much. And yes, once again, thank you for finding time. And hello
Picture.
to everyone who watches the recording. And have the great day and week, everyone.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank
Okay,
you, Lisa.
take care.
Hopefully see you
Yes.
soon.
Bye.
Yes. Bye.
Bye.